This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
And welcome everybody to another Tiny Toons episode of the Animaniacs.
K-ACME TV begins its broadcasting day.
Hiya, Toonsters. If you're like us, you look at the junk that's on TV and say, I could come up with better ideas than that.
In fact, you're probably saying it right now.
Quiet.
And welcome everybody once again to Talkin' Tiny Toons. This is the spin-off series of the Animaniacs. And today we are talking about another episode of Tiny Toon Adventures. We are revisiting our favorite jokes and all the cultural references and gags that we can find. And let me tell you, in this one, there's a lot of them. And in the end, we're going to give these episodes a water tower rating. I am Joey, and joining me once again, right next to me, once again, is my brother Nathan.
Don't hate me just because I'm beautiful.
And across the country in Georgia, she's back. It's Kelly.
Hello.
Hello, Kelly. Welcome back to the show. We missed you.
Thank you.
We missed you in our Pinky in the Brain talk.
Well, I was studying for Gyp-Parody.
That's right. It was very important. But we have our poll results, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, all about Pinky in the Brain. We're going to discuss that towards the end of the episode.
Just fast forward.
If you really want to know all that.
Super important.
Yes, we'll have that. But today, before we get to all, we wrap up our little discussion on Pinky in the Brain, we are talking about Tiny Toon Adventures, and we are talking about not one, but two episodes of Tiny Toon Adventures. They said it couldn't be done.
We're only doing one water tower rating?
I think we should double the water tower rating.
Because in your intro you said one.
Well,
you said episodes and give a water tower rating. So.
Well, that's true. Give the episodes a water tower rating separately.
Guess.
It works. It
Sure.
works. Anyway, semantics. Welcome to the Semantics Podcast. No, today we're going to be talking about not one but two episodes. And this was suggested by one of our listeners on Instagram. We asked everybody out there to give us some suggestions about what episodes of Tiny Toon Adventures we should talk about, because there's so many of them. And Rapid Kirby 3K said K-ACME TV or ACME Cable TV, ? And I looked at those. I said, oh, yeah. I looked at them and I was like, I remember these. And then I realized they are so similar.
Yeah.
That I think we better just do both of them together because, yeah, why not?
Right? We'll just jam full of facts and
this
stuff.
is very much like in the mindset of like Rick and Morty, how Rick and Morty does the flipping the channels episodes.
Yep.
This was the precursor to all of that. It's just like we're going to flip through a bunch of channels. We're going to do a ton of different parodies, and some jokes are going to work, some jokes aren't, but just move on to the next one.
Don't worry, it's only a 15-second joke, so we're on to the next one already. And
so we're going to basically run through a kind of a summary, the highlights of each segment until the commercial break, and then pause to talk about our favorite moments, maybe some of the references that any of us didn't get, and we'll just kind of go from there. So I'm excited.
Oh, I'm so excited.
So excited. Are you excited, Kelly?
Very excited.
Excellent. We're all excited.
We're all so excited.
Let's go ahead and get to it. Nathan, please tell us, when did these episodes first premiere?
Oh, okay. I'm so glad you asked, Joey. So there's two episodes here, as you said.
Yes.
One is episode 64, I believe, of season 1.
Yeah.
And that is K-ACME TV. And that was released on February 26th of 1991, which was just a few days before the release of the movie The Doors. just a few days before the infamous Rodney King beating.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it was just one day after Bruce McNall, Wayne Gretzky, and John Candy bought the Toronto Agronauts, which is is a Canadian football team, I guess.
All right.
Like
Never heard of,
Argonauts.
I don't think they went far.
I don't
guess.
know. I think I don't know. I don't know anything about football in
Me
America.
either.
And then this other episode, I think it was like episode 7 of season 2. I don't know. I should probably have notes in front of me, but oh well. That was released on Monday, November 11th of 1991, which was just 2 days before the release of Disney's Beauty and the Beast.
Oh,
I love that movie.
Right?
Yeah.
It was just 3 days before the music video Black or White first televised on television. It was aired on Fox.
I recognize these facts. These were facts that came from before when we were going over a different episode.
There was an episode came out 1 episode before a previous episode.
I want to say it was Buster and Babs Go Hawaiian. That those exact same dates were mentioned when we've already reviewed that one. So
Well, hey, it's not my fault. 1991, nothing happens.
no, that's absolutely true. Nothing happened in 1991.
I could tell you the exact episode that came out before this one.
Okay.
Or it was right after this one. It was, wait for it, drum rolls. I didn't hear a drum roll. It was Buster and Babs Go Hawaiian.
I knew it.
Yeah, there we go. I can read you all the notes from that one if you want to.
No. Well, let's go ahead and get into our discussion here of K-ACME TV. And K-ACME TV was written by Paul Dini, Sherry Stoner, and Tom Ruger. It was directed by Kent Butterworth, Art Leonardi, and Ken Boyer. And I think you see some of those names show up a little later in this episode as well. We'll get to that in a little bit. But Nathan, why don't you go ahead and tell us what happens here in the first third of this episode?
All right. Well, we find out that Buster and Babs have taken over K-ACME TV, which I guess is like a PBS system. I don't even know if this is like supposed to be like anything in particular, but it's basically they've taken over a television station and they're going to start airing some segments that we want to see, I guess, or at least they want to see. So the first segment they show is it's called Tinker Bunny's Wonderland, Wonderful World of Make-Believe and Learning Fun. Which is like a mix between Disney and Pee-wee's Herman, maybe. I don't know. It's
And Mr. Rogers,
Mr.
too.
Rogers. It's a bunch of things just kind of mixed together, and you learn about rain, and there's some jokes in there.
Oh, it's a beautiful day to pretend a tremendous day to make a friend. A nifty day to be college prepared to learn that E equals MC squared. It's a confusing day to be a child. Should you study or go hog wild? Though only a toddler you may be, it's time to study for the SAT.
I don't know how specific I want to get, so let's go on to the next one.
Moving on.
Plucky's Unlucky Worm commercial, which is a parody of Lucky Charms.
Always after me, unlucky worms. The sugary cereal with slimy surprises. Green worms, yellow grubs, purple slugs, and pink maggots. Part of this balanced breakfast.
And then we have the Gyp-Parody, which is a segment with Buster Bunny hosting.
The first appearance of Gyp-Parody.
Yeah, which they stole from Pinky and the Brain, I believe.
Or vice versa.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
I got to check the dates on this. No. So Buster is playing Alex Trebek, or a parody of him. And then the contestants are Elmira Duff, Calamity Coyote, and Dizzy Devil. And, Elmira Duff just keeps saying bunny, except when the answer's supposed to be bunny. Then she doesn't say it.
Remember, your answer must be spoken in the form of a question. Ready? American firsts for 50. He was the first president of the United States. Elmira.
A bunny. I mean, what is a bunny?
You know, Does the Devil Ate His Stand? And Calamity's Coyote's button doesn't work. So that's basically the segment there. But
All right. And and it's not just a parody of Alex Trebek. I think they call him Art Winkle Bunny or something like that, which is actually like there's a game show host, what's his name? Art Winkleman or something like that. He's let me pull that up right here. Game show.
Well, the first Jeopardy host was Art Fleming, I believe.
Oh, okay. The whole thing of Wink Martindale. That's who I'm trying to think of. So Wink Martindale is, I think that his nickname was Wink, and both this one and then in the next one where it's like the Tooniewood Squares or whatever it is, has a very similar name to that one as well. So instead of like Winkle Bunny, it's like Winkle Man or something like that. So that whole Wink thing is in both of these cartoons. Well, a lot of stuff obviously referencing. You've kind of mentioned it as we went. So we have the kids show. We have Lucky Charms. We have Gyp-Parody. What were some moments in these first ones right here that you thought were funny, Nathan?
I liked learning about rain, about the actual like science of how lightning is formed and everything.
I believe it was all true.
Yeah, I was just like, oh wow, like this is actually like educational.
It was
here,
a cool like Einstein voice that Plucky was doing.
Yeah, and then acid rain. I feel like that was a bigger thing in the early '90s than it is now. Because
you don't hear about acid rain. You hear about climate change more than acid rain.
I know that was. I remember as a kid seeing cartoons and be like, oh, here's acid rain. You know, like there was an episode of Simpsons that had acid rain and.
Yeah, always burning through your clothes and everything like that. Yep. But it's a great thing for cartoons, is acid rain.
Yeah.
Well, Kelly, what about you?
I like the Gyp-Parody segment.
That was pretty cute. Just the Elmira was pretty funny in that one. What is the bunny?
What is the bunny? No, it is not funny.
Is that the only word you can say?
No.
The one that really stood out for me, which rewatching this, I was like, oh, I remember this, was the Lucky Charms commercial for the magically disgusting line. That hit a nerve in the back of my head that I was like, oh, I remember saying that to my friends. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I did. I think it was hilarious now. No, not really.
And it's not like the most clever thing.
When I was a kid.
Instead of delicious, disgusting.
And it was funny.
I'm like, why would they say this in a commercial?
Yeah. I remember liking that as a kid and enjoying it today because it was gross because there were worms.
Busted a lucky worms.
They're magically disgusting.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, now let's go on to the middle segment right here. So after a break, we come back and we're going to Outer Limits Twilight Zone intro. They kind of do this, again, they're going to have an Outer Limits intro in the next episode as well. So you're hitting kind of the same jokes in some of these cartoons, but whatever. They do an Outer Limits / Twilight Zones intro, which goes right into I Love Dizzy, which is obviously a parody of I Love Lucy, specifically the episode where Lucy has to, make chocolates.
Yeah.
And Dizzy does it, and he just basically eats all the cakes instead.
Add a cherry like so. And carefully place it over here, like so. Do you have all that, Mr. Devil? Fine. I'll be back later to check on your progress.
Although it was interesting to see that some parts of the black and white screen were red, such as the cherries and the on and off switch. So they did put some color into this.
It's like an Animaniacs.
It really was like Wacko on the on that episode where they're making pies, and you could see like certain things were red still. So yeah, there you go. They had Calvin Klein's Calvin Acme's Depression commercial. So instead of obsession, it's Fifi going around the place with all these male cats saying, "Oh, she stinks."
Calvin Acme's Depression.
A Super Pluckio's commercial, Super Pluckio Brothers, I should say, commercial.
It's the brand new hit video game, Super Pluckio Brothers. Live the fun and excitement as you guide Pluckio and his brother Linguini through Fungo World.
Ooh, like Save Me and Junk.
Then a trailer for that parodied Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and this one's called Honey, I Shrunk the Clothes.
Coming soon, Hampton Pig and Go-Go Dodo in their first big screen adventure, Honey, I Shrunk the Clothes.
And it has a really funny credit sequence, which we'll get into in a little bit because it goes by very quickly and it's very funny. And finally ending with Toon Court, which is parodying the People's Court. Calamity Coyote is doing really what every Wile E. Coyote or Calamity should do, which is to sue Acme. And I thought I think there's going to be a Wile E. Coyote movie. This has been in talks actually for a while.
Okay.
I wonder if it's going to have something to do with Wile E. Coyote taking on the Acme Corporation, because that would be a nice. Let's get like not Bridget Jones. Who was the
Legally Blonde?
No, do a Legally Blonde with that, or what's the one with Julia Roberts?
Oh yeah, that one.
The Julia Roberts movie where she's the lawyer, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, I want to say John Malkovich, but that's not it.
Well, anyway, seeing Wile E. Coyote take on the Acme Corporation in a movie would be pretty cool.
All right, critter. You claim you had some trouble with that there catapult, huh? Well, prove it, you flea-bitten varmint.
Well, those were our segments for the second one. There was a lot of good stuff in this second one. I saw a lot of stuff I liked. Kelly, did you see anything in there that you particularly liked?
I liked the Super Pluckio Brothers, and I thought they did a really good job with the music. I mean, at some points it sounded exactly like the music from Super Mario Brothers, and the animation was really good.
Yes. I think the sound effects were... somebody was commenting, and I forget who it was, but somebody online, one of our listeners or somebody who follows us on Twitter, put that clip up and just said, wow, I can't believe they got away with using Nintendo's sound effects, because you can hear some of them are exactly the Nintendo sound effects. But they snuck it by Nintendo. I don't think that would work today if Warner Brothers decided to do that again. I think Nintendo would probably ask them for money. Nathan, what about you?
Oh man, I love the Honey, I Shrunk the Laundry. Just all the I laughed until I stopped and things like that.
Gene Shalit said that. That was a good review.
It's good. I'm like, that's a great, that's how I feel about this podcast and anything,
Well, let's go ahead and get to the credit sequence, which I thought was really great. The credits go on to say, Warner Brothers and Amblin Animation co-ventures in association with Lotso Cash Partners, the fourth, present a Tom Ruger production of a Ken Boyer, Art Leonardi, and Kent Butterworth film. Hampton J. Pig, Go-Go Dodo in Honey, I Shrunk the Clothes, starring Buster Bunny, Babs Bunny, no relation, Montana Max, Plucky Duck, Cesar Romero as the entire population of Oakland, California, Little Beeper, Calamity Coyote, and introducing Eddie Fitzgerald as Mookie. In case you didn't know, good. Eddie Fitzgerald is, of course, the inspiration for Mickey the Brain. Then, of course, it goes on with appearance by Fifi LaFume as the irate customer. Executive producer, G. Who. Written by the usual guys. Drawn by Kex Byron, Barry DeMello, and the rest of the gang at the Tiny Toons Cartoony Factory. Model colors figured out at great expense by Bunny Munns. Background by Carthren and Brian. Music by one of the Bruce's guys, based upon the book Crime and Punishment.
I like that. It's like, what?
By Fyodor Dostoevsky. Harried assistant to harried producer
Deborah
Blanchard, yes, and Kenneth Ross. Monitor, Paul Strickland. Does it hurt your eyes to read print this tiny? Live action reference by Sherry Stoner. Mildly disgusted with the whole thing. Tom Minton. Person with nothing better to do than to write this. Paul Dini. Thank you, Paul Dini. This line is for people who hit freeze frame and look for suspect messages. Art direction, Vincent Van Gogh. Edited by Cuisinart. Most of the people listed here had nothing whatsoever to do with the making of this movie. They just like seeing their names whiz by at 1/10 of a second. Hampton J. Pig appears courtesy of Oscar Mayer Incorporated. Go-Go Dodo's Hair by Vegomatic. Original soundtrack recording available on Elevator PA systems. Be sure to buy every product connected with this movie, or you're in big trouble, Jack. We're not kidding. We know where you live. Directed by Ken Boyer, Art Leonardi, Kent Butterworth, Kennedy Cartoons. Don't waste your $7 on this hound. Go see Grim Loons 2 instead. Hi, Mom. Anyway, wow.
Yep.
It's hard
Grim
to read.
Loons.
Get Grim Loons, yes.
But like that was like when I'm watching, I'm like, yeah, I got to pause this and read all these. Like
it's really hard reading it though because it's spaced really poorly and there's no punctuation
and everything. Like some words are usually the names are capitalized, but other times, like Hampton J. Pig was not capitalized, so it's like a weird. I don't know if they sent it out to like foreign animation studio to just say put this text in here, and the people kind of capitalized and uncapitalized it and put no punctuation in. It was a little hard to read, but it's still funny stuff. Yeah.
So that was the highlight for me going through all this stuff, and little things that I remember just as a kid. For some reason, Dizzy running around in circles when the pies were just hitting the floor. And him just running around in circles, not doing anything about it, was memorable to me. Again, that hit a part in my brain that I said, "Oh, I remember that as a kid. That was funny." Anyway, let's move on to the third segment. And I think Kelly liked this third one quite a bit for a special appearance. So, Kelly, why don't you tell us what happens in the third segment of this first episode we're talking about?
Okay. Well, there was a lot. Actually, there was the Blunder Years, which was a parody of the Wonder Years, and Hampton's looking back on his childhood where he was playing baseball at ACME University.
Please don't let the ball come to me. Please don't let the ball come to me. Please don't let the ball come to me. Please don't.
And he wasn't any good at it, and it really brought back terrible memories of me playing. I guess we played softball and PE, and I would say the same thing, like, please don't let the ball come to me, please don't. Same thing with kickball and any sport featuring a ball. I just wanted to stand out there and not have to worry about it. Then there was Nature World, and Elmira sees a porcupine, and she goes and hugs it and gets her with its quills, and then she screams and gets shot out into space. So hopefully she learned her lesson not to hug porcupines. Then there's Ralph the guard, we know from Animaniacs, and he's laying on a couch and says, "Don't hate me because I'm beautiful," and then he gets hit with the cream pie, which I don't remember. I feel like that's a reference to a perfume commercial or something.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's reference. Then there's Wackyland Travel Log. And when they say log, they literally mean log. There's a log that visits Wackyland. And he falls off an unfinished bridge that's currently being drawn. And Go-Go puts him on trial. And he's a really horrible judge. Ruthless, and he finds the log guilty and sentences him to hard time in the catacombs. And the poor log. Yeah. And then later Go-Go is talking to the letter Y.
Hey, who are you?
Why?
Because I want to know, that's why.
No, that's why.
Who are you?
I'm you. Who are you?
Why?
You mean him?
Who do you think you are?
You rang!
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's
Letter humor.
yeah, it's silly. And then there's the search for Big Butt, and which of course is Bigfoot. And Buster and Plucky are looking for Big Butt, and they talk to a prospector who looks like Yosemite Sam.
I was panning for gold in 1909 when all of a sudden, there it was! A rear end as big as an overturned pickle barrel. Well, the next day all I found were enormous fanny prints where he sat down.
He ran away, and then Elmira sees the big butt. It's this big blue butt, and she starts to approach it because it's fluffy and cuddly, and she wants to hug it, but she gets closer, and she's like, never mind.
Never mind.
So, they're like, oh, is he myth? Is he the missing link? We don't know.
Is that what the Sir Mix-a-Lot song's about, that segment?
Yes, it's about I like big butt.
Okay.
And I cannot lie.
All right, that's good.
He really, really liked this segment.
He wrote a whole song about it. All right, sorry, go on. Go.
And then there's a Nightline parody, and except this is Frightline, and instead of Ted Koppel, it's Fred Doppel.
Good evening. I'm Fred Doppel, and this is Frightline.
And then he has a monster face. And that's really about all that is.
Yeah, it's a second.
Parody of Nightline. Which I think Saturday Night Live used to make fun of Nightline a lot. Because I think I learned about it through parody before I ever realized that it was a real show.
Yeah, it was on way too late at night for me. And also, why would you want to watch that when you could watch The Tonight Show instead? So, yeah.
Right. And then Attack of the 50-Foot Girl. Elmira is 50 feet tall, and she's scaring the people of Acme Acres, and she's hugging buildings. And then Buster and Babs interrupt the movie to advertise the Acme Home Cartoon Kit.
We'll return in a minute to our late, shouldn't you be in bed by now movie. But first, this word from the Acme Home Cartoon Kit.
They are wanting to sell it to anyone who wants to start their own cartoon series.
You want to make your own syndicated kiddie show? Then the Acme Home Cartoon Kit has everything you need. Zany props. Writers, artists, ink and paint, animation cells, and executive staff. Some people with money to pay for it all. And some guy who doesn't do anything but put his name on the picture.
And the funny thing about this is, you've got like writers and directors and people who put their names on the show and don't do anything. And lo and behold, and I knew what was coming. It was Steven Spielberg. And so I was like, yay. And Elmira thanks him for making her part bigger. And he says, I didn't make your part bigger. I made you bigger. Because she's still like the 50-foot woman. And she's holding a little tiny Steven Spielberg in her hands. And so that was exciting. I'd forgotten. I think I've seen this before, but it was, when the show first aired, so I had forgotten about it. So, but as soon as I heard, people who put their name on the show and don't do anything, I knew they were talking about Steven. Not a nice way. That's not a nice comment, but I knew they were just making fun of it.
And they had a lot of the writers and animators. They had all these caricatures, like a ton of them.
Oh, yeah.
Like so many that I recognize Bruce Timm, because whenever they put Bruce Timm, it's a very noticeable, repeatable caricature. I couldn't exactly point out Tom, who was supposed to be Tom Ruger and stuff. But obviously he's in there. And then some of the Warner Brothers executives obviously were being pictured. I'm assuming Kathleen Kennedy and Frank Marshall were probably some of the folks that dropped out of there as well. Because
they were going so fast, it was hard to tell.
Yeah, and exactly. And you're also kind of, they don't say exactly who these people are. You're kind of like, the artist knows.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, there's an insane amount of people on here. So maybe somewhere online somebody can make a little picture that points out and does little arrows to each one of them. But it was.
I think it'd have to be the animator that showed
exactly,
all the
because nobody else would know.
Like looking at this photo, I just froze a screenshot of it, and they all just look like generic.
Yeah, I know. When the far away shot just looks like little stick figures, but whatever.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead. So, Kelly, obviously the highlight for you must have been seeing Spielberg, as you said right there.
Yes, I always get excited about a Spielberg sighting. Speaking of which, I was surprised and delighted to see him at the Academy Awards because I didn't know he was presenting the In Memoriam segment. So my friend was so cute. She's like, "I'm excited for you, Kelly," because I stood up in my seat. We were watching it at a movie theater, and I stood up in my seat, and I got all excited, and then I had to sit down because I had to calm myself. But because it was a sad segment, so I'm like, well, I can't be cheering.
Oh
for
yeah,
that.
exactly.
But I was just excited to see him because I had looked at the list of presenters, and he wasn't on there, so I was like, whatever. But he's usually around. I usually see him, so I was excited.
All right. Well, Nathan, what were some things that you thought were cool in this?
The Ralph the Guard one reminded me of George Costanza modeling, but that didn't happen until 5 years later.
That's true. And this is the whole "Don't hate me because I'm beautiful." I knew it was a commercial, and I had to look it up. I think it was a L'Oreal shampoo commercial. The woman would start off the commercial by saying, "Don't hate me because I'm beautiful. I use L'Oreal shampoo." We'll play a clip of it right here.
Don't hate me because I'm beautiful. This is my hair in the morning. So I wash it, just like you, and blow it dry, just like you. So how come my hair looks great despite all this? I discovered Pantene.
Pantene's Pro-Vitamin B5 complex penetrates your hair to give it inner strength, so it
Don't hate me just because I'm beautiful.
At any rate, that was a quick reference that I'm like, that is something. Also, there's the reference right there with the travel log. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that voice of "this is a travel log" or something like that, it could have been a parody of Huell Hauser,
maybe.
Who he's
a funny voice.
He has a funny voice.
I've watched some of his.
Huell Hauser died about 6 years ago, but Nathan, tell us who Huell Hauser is for those people who
he lived in California, and he would go around saying another wonderful place in gorgeous California.
Yeah, he would kind of, look at California, look behind me.
Yes, this is a travel log. Beautiful scenic Wackyland, land of serenity, home of go-go, last of the dodo.
Come down here to the Salton Sea. If you don't find Steve, look up Wacko. He'll give you the tour. And the lady who runs the RV, Lee, her knee will be fixed by then.
We hope so.
And they'll show you as good a time as they showed us today.
A lot of Paul Rugg just did an Instagram video recently was parodying him. I think it's somebody that a lot of Californians know who he is.
Because he was basically on their public access something.
So he would always run across Huell Hauser, but to anyone outside of California, it's like, who's Huell Hauser? So I think they were, and since it was traveling around, I was like, I think they're doing a parody of Huell Hauser right there, a voice. And I really liked the part where Elmira said, "Never mind." Again, another part that I remember as a kid going, "That's funny."
We find out Go-Go's full name.
Oh yes,
it's Go-Go Waxton the Dodo. It says that in the travel log.
There we go.
So we knew it was Go-Go Dodo, but now we know.
Well, a lot of good stuff in there. Let's go ahead and take a break real quick, and let's listen to a retro Tiny Toons commercial.
With new Tiny Toon Adventures fruit snacks.
Izzy, I promised my parents I wouldn't make a mess.
Is this O'Hare Airport?
Yummy. Bob, I could eat you all up.
These really fit the bill.
Those went fast. Hello. Mom, you're coming home? You're back.
The party animals in new Tiny Toon Adventures fruit snacks.
Hey, this is Tom Ruger, and you're listening to the Animaniacs.
And we're back. Wasn't that great?
I liked it.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get to the second episode right here. And, of course, we're back to it. Channels, once again, changing channels. Except this time, Buster and Babs are sick, right? And they have cable.
Yes.
So let's go ahead and talk about ACME Cable TV.
Yes, this is the 7th episode of season 2, I should say, since I didn't say before.
Okay. And ACME Cable TV was written by Paul Dini, Tom Ruger, Nicholas Hollander, and Peter Hastings. And it was directed by Alfred Gimeno, and David West also co-directed it with him. So, Nathan, why don't you tell us what happens here in the first third of this cartoon?
All right. So, as you mentioned, Buster and Babs are sick, and they don't feel like doing a cartoon today. So they're just going to sit down and watch TV, and we get to join them. They have the Taiwan flu, which causes them to sneeze in an accent.
Hi, Toonsters. Babsy and I had a great show lined up, but we came down with the Taiwan flu.
Now we sneeze with an accent.
Achoo!
I don't know if that's a racist joke.
It was kind of a little... It was a little questionable. But you then also couldn't really hear much of an accent as well.
It's just when they sneeze in an accent.
Yeah, I think, but they didn't really do any kind of like offensive accent so that I could really hear. But go ahead.
So we start off with a Babsy and Buzzwinkle show, which is just Babs and Buster in a Rocky and Bulwinkle parody. And that's really cute. They end up they're on a rocket and it's about to crash, and then will it crash? And that's how it kind of ends.
When they were strapped onto a Polaris missile and launched toward the Bay of Pigs.
Funky jokes, Buzzwinkle. With dated 60s references like this, we won't have much of a life in reruns.
Don't worry. If this missile explodes, we won't have much of a life, period.
How can you crack jokes at a time like this?
We gotta do something to eat up airtime. We don't have enough money for animation.
And then there's a Foot Loops commercial. That's right, Foot Loops, not Fruit Loops. You gotta follow your feet. And you eat his bunions, his go-go, trying to sell his cereal to Shirley. And there's just...
Who, by the way, that's Rob Paulson singing right there, I believe. That is not Frank Welker, as far as I can tell.
Interesting.
I'm pretty darn sure, even though it doesn't list him in the credits. I don't know. Let's listen to a clip right here, and you can be the judge. But I'm pretty sure that's Rob Paulson singing.
If it's something tasty you like to eat, then do like me and use your feet. I follow my toes, it smells kind of gross, like something dead, starting to decompose.
And ironically, the voice of Toucan Sam today is...
I know this.
Who is it?
Maurice LaMarche.
That's right. So...
I thought it was as we were kids, too.
Still is. He's done it for a long time.
Yeah. So it's not a new development.
No.
He's been doing it.
He's been doing it. So... What else we got? So after Foot Loops.
I know, you want to say Foot Loops. It's Walt Disney presents The Cat Who Thought He Was a Hammerhead Shark.
I think you said
Walt Dizzy, sorry.
Walt Dizzy, yes.
Yeah. Which is a parody of Walt Disney. And it'd be like a Disney cartoon of something. But this one, just silly. It's just Furball falls into the ocean and a hammerhead shark adopts him.
As the years passed, the little fella grew to love his watery life.
Very short. Flassie, which is like a Buttons almost.
Yeah.
This is a Buttons, Mindy and Buttons parody called Flassie. And it's about this dog who sees Montana Max fall off a cliff. And then she runs over and finds Elmira and says, hey, like this is all in English too. And the King's English.
This is really weird.
It's so weird, yeah. But it's basically saying like, oh, you need to call someone. Someone's fell off a cliff. And then Elmira's just barking at her.
A hiker is hanging from Dead Man's Peak. Call the Rangers, okay? Don't you speak the King's English?
And then it just said, the smartest dog with the dumbest girl on Flassie. And that's the end of the first act, I guess.
Yeah, there we go. Well, what stood up for you in this first third right here, Kelly, of this episode?
Well, I thought the Foot Loops was really, really gross.
Yeah.
Not it it wasn't funny to me because it was gross. So, and I liked the Flassie because I didn't expect the dog to be speaking so properly, speaking at all. But then when she was speaking, it was so proper.
That was I did the grabbing Elmira by the shoulders. I thought was pretty funny. I particularly like the Rocky and Bullwinkle parody.
Yeah, that was great. They did a really good job with the voices of Rocky and Bullwinkle too, I thought.
Yeah, and just the animation. Well, even they're trying to comment about how cheap the animation is, but the animation for most of it was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
When they did the stylized walk as they were walking down the pier, as instead of Boris and Natasha, it was Montana Max and Elmira dressed up as them, catching them. And they mentioned a funny thing in here where they talk about dated references of the 60s. And here it is almost 30 years later. we're talking about it's almost 30 years later from it's the same thing. We're talking about dated references of Tiny Toons.
Yeah. So this is 30 years after. So.
Yeah, because they're talking about Bay of Pigs right here and all these, missiles and things like that with Cold War stuff, the 1960s. I thought it was funny how it just kind of all goes together, loops around.
It's like Back to the Future.
Yeah. Oh, well, sort of.
I guess I missed a Tinkerbell reference in this segment too. Is that right? Or is that
there's Tinkerbell. Babs is kind of doing a Walt, because at the beginning it says instead of the wonderful world of color, it says what does it say here?
Our show is a carnival of color, blistering eye poking color. Oops.
The Carnival of Color with Walt Disney or something like that. So, yeah. And she blows up the entire place with a bazooka, with her fireworks bazooka.
Yeah.
So, poor Babs. But the second 2 episodes again in a row, she's dressed up as Tinkerbell, so you can kind of get confused. So, yeah, some good stuff. There we go. I guess let's move on to the second part, huh?
Come listen to my story of Montana Max, a billionaire brat wiped out by income tax. Uncle Sam come running out to repossess, and Monty lost it all to the IRS.
Second part starts off with the Ballad of Montana Max. Now, this is kind of like a Beverly Hillbillies kind of thing. And the possums that, of course, appear in How I Spent My Summer Vacation are in this, and they kind of chase him around, I think, at the end, don't they?
Yeah, they something eat him too, or something like.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right, they do. And he's in their mouth at the end. It's weird.
It's a weird. I don't know what the moral of the story is.
Not really. They were singing about him, and then they eat him at the end. That is definitely weird. Tooniewood Squares, Montana Max is out of the possum's belly, and he's competing against Elmira on a parody of the Hollywood Squares. And so, they kind of say, like, what was it like during the Civil War or something like that? And the Byron Bassett says something like rough. Mm-hmm. And Montana says, I disagree. And of course, no, life was rough.
He disagrees with this whole concept of,
Yeah, but it's Elmira wins, and then as a punishment, again, we're very extreme. We thought that like Go-Go was extreme in the last one, where dropping the travel log into the catacombs. This host, whose name is, wait for it, Blink Winkleman.
Wow.
Drops Montana Max into Hades.
The stupid dog barked! He said woof! That's not an answer!
Don't be a sore loser, Monty, and have a pleasant trip.
With fire and devils.
But he could have won like $800 million.
Yeah.
I can't remember how much.
It was a big risk. But this whole game show is very weird. But that was the main thing. I guess there's a reference in there also to Joan Rivers, because of course Tress MacNeille does a fantastic Joan Rivers impression. Yeah, he could have got.
Yeah, she used to be on Hollywood Squares a lot.
Yeah, I used to watch that show a lot as a kid. So
I did too, and I never understood the game. I never understood it.
circle gets a square. Agree or disagree. Alf was on it a lot.
It seemed like the celebrities just were talking all the time. And
and they, I don't know, making. It's a lot of innuendo jokes. That's all I really remember.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about anything that you thought was memorable in this first one right here. Kelly, let's start with you. Anything that you thought was cool?
I thought the song for the Ballad of Montana Max was really funny. And it definitely put me in mind of Beverly Hillbillies, which I never really watched, but I was familiar with the theme song. So I thought that was the way they took it and parodied it was very clever.
Yeah. Nathan?
I liked the Hollywood Squares parody just because they get to add some jokes on top of your parody because they all have to tell a joke as their answer. And then their answer is also a joke. So it's...
Yeah.
Get double jokes.
Well, there's only one more segment in our double feature, and that is going to go for Kelly. So, Kelly, tell us what happens here in part 3 of our second episode today.
Okay. There's an Outer Limits parody, and Buster is narrating it, and you sort of see an outline of him on the screen. It's all kind of black background, and he's like, we've taken over the horizontal and the vertical, and it's weird.
And speaking of weird, real quick, I had this big debate with Nathan and I
and Tom Ruger
before the show started because Buster sounds weird, and I was going, he doesn't sound like Charlie Adler to me. I'm like, I wonder if Charlie wasn't able to do the voice, or if for some reason somebody else did the voice. And then through Kelly, you mentioned that yes, it sounds weird because he has the Taiwan flu. And I was like, oh, yes, there we go. So I totally forgot about the joke at the beginning of the episode. So, but hey, good acting, Charlie.
Yeah,
you forgot that you were sick.
There is nothing wrong with your television set. We are controlling the broadcast. We can control the vertical. We can control the horizontal. We could even make it snow. Jingle bells, jingle bells.
Stop goofing around, Buster.
Sorry.
And then, so after Outer Limits, of course, we move on to Roseanne. So tell us what happens here with Roseanne there, Kelly.
Okay. Roseanne is a parody of Roseanne, which, even if you weren't familiar with the original series, it has been rebooted in recent years, although now Roseanne is not on it. So I think it's called The Connors.
Yeah.
So Buster and Babs play Dan and Roseanne, and don't look like themselves because they're very large, just like the actors in Roseanne. And Babs brings out all this food that's in the refrigerator and puts it on the table, and Buster wants to know if it's buffet for I think their bowling team or something. And she's like, no, it's my breakfast.
What about me? Don't I get to eat anything?
I'll let you lick the plate when I'm finished.
Oh, and so Buster tries to kiss Babs, and their tummies are so big they just kind of bounce off each other when they try to kiss. And then Babs gets knocked into the kitchen cabinets and starts singing the national anthem, which again is making fun of Roseanne because she's singing the national anthem badly.
Oh, say, can you sing?
Many years ago.
That was such a controversy right there, like when she sang the national anthem. Nathan, do you remember this at all?
No.
People get all upset and like, oh, I can't believe so-and-so is like kneeling or sitting down or something like that. Well, Roseanne did the national anthem, and then she
purposely sang it
purposely sang it horribly, and then spit right there on the field at the end of it. And people were so upset. Yeah, but And people were like, you want to talk about cancel culture of today. People were very much like, cancel Roseanne. And how ironic that those same conservative people would be like, don't cancel Roseanne.
I know.
Years later. Oh, well. This is very weird how the world works. Anyway.
Very weird.
So moving on, we have a commercial.
Yes. Babs is walking out of a hotel, and she's all dressed up. She's got a pretty dress on with a little flower on it, and gets into a taxi, and Buster's just standing there. And she gets in the taxi and goes to the airport and gets on a jet, and the jet's flying, and then all of a sudden she gets the plane to turn around and goes back and returns to where she had gotten in the taxi, outside the hotel, and Buster's still standing there. And she says, "Are those Bungle Boy jeans that you're wearing?"
Excuse me, are those Bungle Boy jeans you're wearing?
I'm not wearing any pants.
That's what I thought.
And that is the parody of the Bugle Boy jeans or Bugle Boy pants commercials that used to be a thing.
Yes. Let's play a clip of one right now.
Excuse me, are those Bugle Boy jeans that you're wearing?
Oh, yes. They are Bugle Boy jeans.
Thank you.
Nathan, do you remember those at all? Those commercials where
I assume they were like commercial for jeans.
Bugle Boy. Do you ever know Bugle Boy jeans?
No, I don't know.
Oh.
But that commercial reminded me. So
it reminded you of jeans.
Yep.
Bugle Boys. I think you could
Are
get
Bugle Boys still around?
I don't think so. I think you get them at like JCPenney or something like that. I don't even know. Like they're such a '90s brand. They should bring them back just so people would totally buy them for. If I saw
90s have come back.
Yeah, if I saw a label that said Bugle Boy, I would probably buy a pair just because I think that would be cool. I think I had a pair of Bugle Boys because
I think my brother did.
It worked on me when I was a kid. I thought, oh, girls will stop and ask me about my jeans if I wear them. Okay.
Did they?
Never did. Oh well. And now we're gonna go, and then we get into a TV parody that people don't really talk about too much anymore.
Yep.
It did not age well.
No.
Yep.
It's the Go Cosby Show.
Cosby.
And this has Go-Go, and it's a parody of the Cosby Show, and he's playing Cosby. And they're actually keeping the same names, Cliff and Claire, and Theo is the son, and Theo wants to take his girlfriend out and wants to borrow the car, and Cliff tells him he can and takes some pudding bars, which, for those who don't know, Bill Cosby used to be the spokesperson for Jell-O pudding pops.
Oh, yes.
Which were amazing. And I don't think they sell those anymore either. I haven't seen them.
I don't know. I know they do fudgesicle pops, but I don't know about Jell-O pudding.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Cliff, I believe our children are all growing up.
Well, Claire, seems to me, you see, the thing is, we need more kids. Hello, Central Casting. Send over a new cute daughter from my show. Thanks. Bye-bye. Gotta keep this TV show going, don't you know? 'Cause my movie career's in the dumpster.
Mommy! Daddy! Your new cute little daughter is here.
So you are. Have a pudding bar, darling.
Which I think is sort of playing off of when they had is her name Raven Simone?
Yeah.
Play the little, she was like, was she an adopted kid, or I don't remember how
she was their daughter's daughter, I think, basically.
So the granddaughter.
Yeah, there was their granddaughter, and I forget.
Okay,
it was that. What's the woman who she was on a different world, I think, or something like that. I think that was her daughter.
Oh, Lisa Bonet.
I think it was Lisa Bonet's daughter. I think, but again, it's been many years since I've seen.
Well, the character's daughter.
Yes, exactly. To be clear.
So, yeah. There were a lot of characters in the show and the spinoff too, so it does get kind of confusing. But so the little girl shows up and she's like, "I'm your cute new daughter," and they're like, "Oh yes, you are." And because the show ran so long, all the kids had grown up, and they were pulling the whole thing, like with Growing Pains and Brady Bunch. You know, they always had to add a new young kid as the others aged up.
It's always the sign that your show's about to end.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the death knell. So then he gives the new daughter a pudding pop. Yeah. And they call them pudding bars, I think maybe because they can't call them pudding pops, but they're pudding pops. And then the last segment is Incredible Discoveries, and I think this is sort of a take on infomercials.
Welcome, friends, to Incredible Discoveries that happen to be for sale. Yay! I'm Mike Sleazy. What have you got for us today, Gian?
Well, Mike, it's something so super, so fabulous that you at home should just start ordering it even before I tell you what it is.
Yay! Sounds super and fabulous.
It is, Mike, it is. Our solar-powered clothes dryer.
It's basically a clothesline because you hang out your clothes in the sun and they dry. And it's, you know, but they really, really ramp it up. And it's like, oh, you know, it's solar powered and, you know, it's amazing. I would normally sell for $99, but I'm going to sell it for $9.99. The artist is like, no. So I'm going to throw in the clothes, what is it? She throws in some clothespins and some kind of fasteners or attachments, and they still don't like it. And then she lowers the price some more to like $6.99, I think, and they still don't like it. And so then she's throwing in trees to hang it in between, and a split level house, and I think a jet, and they still don't like it even though it's $1.99. And then she finally throws in the sun. And so once they get that, they like the price, and I don't see how they can make any money off of that, though.
No, I don't think so.
$1.99 is kind of ridiculous. But so that's the way that segment ends, and then it goes back to Buster and Babs, and they're literally couch potatoes now. And so they're like sour cream, and Buster eats the sour cream, and then he offers Babs some chives, and you know she's like, sure.
So long, Spudsters.
So they're couch potatoes.
The end.
The end.
Well, as Coco Marx would say. Before we get to our water tower rating, Nathan, any parts right here in our last little segment that you liked?
I liked how it was just a clothesline, and I mean it was a really good deal. Like I was like at $4.99, I was like, you know, that's not that bad. You know, before she even threw the trees or the plane or the house, I was like, you know, that's okay. But it just got ridiculous. The crowd is just turned on her so quickly.
And that was a whole thing. I think they called it Incredible Discoveries or something like that. And there used to be this tele-commercial or whatever called, I think, Amazing Discoveries, where one of the hosts would be the British, hello, everyone.
But the value, absolutely free, $50 worth, Mike, for just $29.95. It's got to be good. It's got it all. It's got to be good.
We're almost there. We're almost there. You've got to give us more.
Excuse me one second. Ian?
No, wait a minute. No. Gentlemen, Ian, stay out of this. Come on, you've got to give us more, John.
Michael.
What?
Trust me.
Yes.
English.
Trust me.
Read my lips. After this, there is no more. Ian, make the man the deal. He can't refuse.
$29.95, 10 and 10, $50 worth. Advertise it for us. Tell your friends. That's what we're here for, to advertise Ari. Okay. There's another $29.95's worth, free of charge. Okay. $80 value. John, it's up to you.
Michael.
How much?
We've got to be there. $29.95.
That's a good deal. $80 for $29.95. That's a good deal. Stay with us. When we come back, we'll learn about more uses of Ari, find out how to use these new free things. All this when we come back on Amazing Discoveries.
Parodying that.
And I like that Buster was still coughing from the after Babs drove away and flew back, drove back, and he's still coughing from the smoke that she drove away with. I don't know.
I did like the whole thing of her flying so far away until she finally remembered, wait a minute, I gotta go all the way back. So it was a little padding, but it was still for comic effect. So it was good. Let's say I like the little line right there was talking about Bill Cosby's movie careers in the dumpster. because Bill Cosby could make a great TV show that everybody loved, but boy, oh boy, when it came to movies like Ghost Dad and Clifford Part 6, nobody went to go see his movies. He just it was a weird thing. You think today that wouldn't happen, but I don't know. Bad writing for his movies, apparently. Well, Kelly, is there any last moments in that last segment that you want to get to before we get to our Water Tower rating?
Nothing I want to add, I don't think.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get to our Water Tower rating for these episodes. Okay, so let's talk about the first one here. What is this? I keep getting them confused. K-ACME TV, I believe.
Yes.
So out of 5 water towers, how many would you give K-ACME TV? Nathan, let's start with you.
Okay, I'll say 4 water towers.
All right, and why?
It was just lots of funny funs, and there's lots of jokes, and it was pretty original. I don't think there's a lot of cartoons that had done this before.
That's true.
So, yeah. It was mostly all very funny. So,
okay,
4. I don't know.
And Kelly, what about you? What would you give the first one?
I would also give it 4. It was pretty clever, and I really liked the Plucky Brothers segment, and also Steven Spielberg.
All right, and I will give it 3.5. I thought it was great. I thought it was cute more than funny, though. I think it was just I enjoyed it, but it wasn't as good as I remembered it.
It wasn't funny, ha.
Yeah, it was funny. It was funny, ho ho. I don't know. Let's go to the second one. So now, Nathan, for the ACME Cable TV, how many water towers would you give that one?
I'll do 3.5. Because, I mean, I've seen this kind of thing before somewhere. I don't know where, but this isn't the first time I've seen it. And, the Foot Loops was really gross, and some of it didn't age well necessarily, like Roseanne or the Crosby. The Go-Go Crosby.
Go-Gosby?
Yeah.
Go-Gosby.
Yeah. But I do love that Rocky and Bulwinkle segment, baby.
All right. You say baby too? Kelly, what about you?
I'm going to go with 3. I agree pretty much with everything that Nathan said, but also none of the segments really stood out as much for me for the second episode, so a little bit lower rating.
See, I'm going to give it 3.5 again, but I actually think it's slightly better than the first one for me, just because... I don't know. I thought the animation was just slightly better in the second episode that we saw. But I don't know. I liked some of the longer bits in the second one. I liked the Roseanne one. I liked the Cosby Show one. And some of the parodies I thought were just a little stronger for me, like the Rocky and Bullwinkle one. So, in fact, I'll give it 4. I'm going to say 4 for the next one, just to make it a little bit better. So totally all over the board for us, going different directions. But overall, some good episodes. I like Nathan was saying, this was not typical of cartoons at the time. Today, you'd see these kinds of episodes, I think, not only obviously in Rick and Morty, like we mentioned, but in probably other ones as well. But it was nice.
32 short films of Springfield.
Yeah, in Springfield, and Simpsons does it too.
Called.
Yeah, so... This was one of the first ones, I think, to do it, if not the first. I'd like to challenge you all out there.
I'm sure there's
if
another one.
No, the gauntlet has been thrown. If you know of a different cartoon out there that predates this one, that did this kind of channel-changing kind of thing, I'd be interested to hear about it. Not as a competition, but more just to see, like, where did this kind of come from first? So who did it first? So far, I'm thinking Tiny Toons, but we'll find out. Well, let's go ahead and before we get to our contact information, let's go ahead and get to our poll results. And let me see if I can find these. Oh, no.
Oh?
Okay. I'm sorry to do this, everybody, but back from his leave of absence, here comes our announcer with our poll results.
Hello, everyone. I am back. Yes. This is the Animaniacs announcer, doing my official duty here in Burbank, California, as I'm going up to the gate to try to find out some more information about the Animaniacs reboot, which is apparently scheduled to come out this year, in 2020. Who would have thought? Who would have knew? No one. Well, I'm going to get the scoop right here. So I'm going to go up to the gate. Hello there. I'm from the Animaniacs. Yes, the Animaniacs. Never heard of them? No, they're the Animaniacs podcast. They put out official things all the time. Well, not really official, but hello? Well, no luck today. But I do have the Animaniacs poll results. Listeners were asked, which of these hashtag Pinky and the Brain segments from hashtag Animaniacs is your favorite? The winner will go head-to-head against Bubba Boba Brain. Hashtag Animaniacs poll. In fourth place was When Mice Ruled the Earth. In third place was The Brain's Apprentice. In second place was Meet John Brain. But number one was Pavlov's Mice. Well, there you have it. Now, if you excuse me, I'm going to try to sneak in by, I don't know, digging a tunnel under the Warner Brothers wall. I'm not exactly sure, but hopefully I'll find some information out. But until then, I shall see you in the next episode here on the Animaniacast.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And now the winner.
So good. He did so well.
Of course, the winner of this poll is going. Pavlov's Mice is going off to face Bubba Boba Brain this week in our next poll. So you'll have to go to hashtag Animaniacast poll, or simply go to twitter.com/Animaniacast to make your voice heard on that one. But let's hear what you guys think. Which of those segments did you think was the best? Nathan, let's start with you.
I voted for Pavlov's Mice, along with the slight majority.
And I felt bad when I was seeing the results, because when we were talking about it, I almost got rid of Pavlov's Mice because I didn't think it was as funny as the other ones. But I was wrong.
I guess.
So wrong.
I don't know. It was
a difficult choice. I think. Gosh, of all those, I might say Meet John Brain might be my favorite one, just because of the political commentary, and I think Pinky is very funny in that one, flopping around in a dress, and I think that one's the funniest. And Kelly, which of those do you think is the funniest?
I liked the one that was like the Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Ah, yes, the Brain's Apprentice, right there.
Yeah.
That one is like step by step, like really just almost exactly like Fantasia. It was very impressive. Just really well done.
Yeah, I don't know how funny it is, but I like it. It's really, the music and everything's really well done.
All right, well, you'll have to go, everybody, out to take the next Animaniacast poll. What do you think is better, Pavlov's Mice or Bubba Boba Brain? Go to hashtag Animaniacast poll on Twitter. That'll do it for today's episode. Let's go and get to some contact information. Nathan, where can people reach you online?
Hi, Joey. I'm right next to you.
Oh, hi.
You can just reach out and grab me.
Okay. Take this.
Okay. No, I'm on Twitter, JangoFT. That's me.
Okay. Kelly, what about you?
I'm also on Twitter at Yoda Princess, YODA, or NCSS, or email me, Kelly, at BigShinyRobot.com.
All right, and as for the Animaniacast, we're on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and Discord as well with the rest of the Retro Zap crew. We're a proud member of the Retro Zap podcast community. In fact, what you can do out there is you can subscribe to the Retro Zap podcast feed and get every single one of the Retro Zap podcasts, including this one, for free. And why not head over to our Discord group? You can get an invite by going to discord.animaniacast.com, and that way you can talk about Animaniacs or really anything pop culture. It's a really positive place and really fantastic people there. So check it out and you won't be disappointed. That'll do it for today's episode. So for Nathan and Kelly, this is Joey saying good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
This podcast is not endorsed by Warner Brothers or Amblin Entertainment and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Animaniacs, Tiny Toon Adventures, Freakazoid, the Warner Brothers logo, all names, pictures, and sounds are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of the Animaniacast unless otherwise indicated.